Yes, yes, you are. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. If you want to be part of the program this hour, the number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open. There are some great stories that have come in. We're going to try to get to a few of them here in the first hour. Keep those stories coming in. That number is 601-879-5060. And we are streaming on Rumble, and we are streaming on X, and we are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the radio signal, it's getting fuzzy, your radio's not getting the job done, go ahead and tune into the stream. We appreciate it. Please do me a favor, follow me on X, Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. Always posting stories there. And today is Wednesday, the 17th of December, 2025. And we are here to equip the saints. That's our mission. That's the standard. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Yep. When the righteous triumph, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, people hide themselves. And isn't that true, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't that true? You see all these conservatives, this liberalism marauding across the nation, and you just see the conservatives buckling down and being quiet. Now, there is a small minority, and we're going to talk about them. I got a great piece on them. They kind of remind me of like the Minutemen back in the day. But we're seeing so many people, oh, I'm not getting involved in politics. Oh, I'm not getting involved in local school board race. I'm not getting... And that is how we descend into a place we no longer want to be. With that being said, for the first time in a really long time, Benny Thompson is going to have a challenger, not only on the Republican side of the ticket. No. He's going to have a challenger on the Democrat side of the ticket too. And when you see this, my goodness gracious, coming from the Magnolia Tribune, Frank Corder, always doing good work. Former Schumer chief counsel challenging Thompson in Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District. And everybody's like, I never criticized conservative media. I never did. I'm just saying the picture that they got of this gentleman, Even Turnage is his name. It's a funny picture. If you don't see it, let me put this on my X real quick, and then we'll get into the story. But my goodness gracious, it's like I just, as a politician, there are so many times you could get. I don't need like a glamour shot. I'm not asking for that. But when I was out working on the road, and you've got me sitting there completely dirty and muddy and working, that just, I feel unfair. But it's neither here nor there. Get back to this picture. I was just there. There it is. Former Schumer chief counsel challenging Thompson in Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District. Evan Turnage was born in Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District in 1992. This was the poorest district in the poorest state in the country, Turnage said of the Mississippi Delta region. The next year, then Hinds County Supervisor Benny Thompson, a Democrat, became the district's congressman and has won re-election every 2 years since, despite the continued economic hardships and loss of the population. It's true. Hinds County losing population, Warren County losing population. If you look at the 2nd Congressional District of Mississippi, I'm not going to say it's gerrymandered like Illinois or New York or California, but it's close. Mr. Turnage goes on to say, unfortunately, that's still the case today, 33 years later. That just means that Benny Thompson has failed, but while he's failed, he has failed upwards. His net worth I think the last I saw was 21 million. Is that the right number? I do believe that is. Now Turnage, a former chief counsel to U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, believes the Mississippi Delta region needs change of representation at the nation's capital. Yes, they do. You are right there, but they need a conservative there to actually go in there and start cleaning that place up, because there's been 33 years of Democrat control of that district, and nothing's happened. And you can't blame Trump for all this. There were long periods of time where President Barack Obama was in charge. Bill Clinton was in charge. Joe Biden was in charge. There were times where the Democrats not only had the presidency and the House, but the Senate too, and he didn't get the job done. But what will happen in the 2nd Congressional District? Will they learn from their past mistakes? Will they try something different? Or will they just go back to the tired old playbook? I don't know. We need plans for real change right now, and I think that I have a particular set of assets that I'm looking to use in the district for the betterment or for the district's betterment, Turnage said. Yep. Turnage said he believes that people are frustrated with government, and for good reason. Yep. I'm telling you this right now. A Democrat going in there fighting for the same things, the tired things that have not worked for the 2nd Congressional District of Mississippi, are not going to change with someone who's going to bring those same ideas and that same skill set. Turner is an accomplished attorney. It's what we need, more lawyers. He's an accomplished attorney. And he's a Yale-trained antitrust lawyer, and his parents are lawyers too, and they're very successful. Look, great thing about this is it's not somebody coming in from out of state into a district. Like, that's happening in other states where people see an opportunity to run for office for either a congressional spot or even a Senate spot, but they don't have the residency there, so they just go in there and run for that spot, and that's not good. We don't need that in Mississippi. That's honestly one of the reasons I never want to run anything. I like being part of the GOP, but that's why I don't run for office. I don't want to do that. We're getting texts already. This is coming from my friend Roy. Delbert Hoseman gave us all, or Delbert Hoses all Hoseman. Come on, man. It's just Delbert Hoseman gave us Uncle Benny more counties to make up for the loss of population. That's true. That is very true. And the bottom line is this, is if that Voter Rights Act, which is a classic example of a, it's not even a Democrat trick, it's a politician's trick, because Republicans do it too. The Clean Water Act of 2014, voted against it. Why would you vote against clean water? It's the name of the bill. Did you look what was actually inside that bill? Have you actually looked what's inside the VRA? What's really interesting about this is that if that goes away, will Mississippi immediately try to redraw its districts, or will we wait till 2032? I think that we'll wait till 2032. That's just my opinion. I'm not sure the Senate our Senate has the votes to do that. I would like to think they would, but I just don't think it'll happen. And yep, I was against it, but now that it's happened, we're all in this thing together, and we can say, nope, we're not going to do it, and people will be okay with that. But we've already decided we are going down this path. And are you going to be a team player? Yes or no? I struggle with that. But I probably wouldn't, but I'm not saying I totally wouldn't. It's just one of those things where you have to be there to see it. But Indiana's not going to do it. Now there's some consternation if South Carolina is going to do it, if North Carolina is going to do it. We'll just have to wait and see. My big thing is I don't want Elizabeth Warren anywhere near Mississippi. I don't want any of her proteges anywhere near Mississippi. And it goes to show you this country is divided, and a people divided cannot stand. And you can see it. Man, I have so much stuff that I want to share that's going on in Illinois, not because we want to copy Illinois, but because what is happening to Chicago happened to Jackson, and if we're not careful, it's going to spread, and the malaise is going to spread. And you know where it's going to spread to? Madison County, Rankin County, Scott County, Jones County. It's going to spread east. Absolutely. We have to draw the line in the sand with Jackson. And I know that people who have lived here a lot longer than me say that's not possible. And it might not be. But this is the kind of stuff that's coming, which is why I am so excited to talk with my good friend Patricia Williamson, the Carver County GOP chairman up in Minnesota there. They are having an immigration nightmare up there. And in the next hour, she's going to spend the whole hour with us, hopefully. And she's just going to talk about the challenges that they're having up there, the craziness that's going on. We're like, that can't be happening. Let me tell you something. If you Google Islam protest in Texas on X and go watch some of those videos, it's bone chilling. I mean, you've got people marching up and down the streets, openly carrying their ARs and other rifles. I mean, it's literally a hair trigger there. And it was just by the grace of God that we found out about Epic City and everything that they were going to do there. And now Governor Abbott's got his hands full. Ken Paxton's got his hands full. There's real big trouble, and it's going to be coming out of Texas, and it's going to have to be Texas that leads the way there. But Mississippi has a chance to do something special. We have a chance to do something special, and I know that there are a lot of great people who know about it and are working on it. Hopefully tomorrow, God willing, I get to meet with a few great people and talk about what's happening and what we're trying to do. But we'll just have to wait and see. But it's great to know that Benny Thompson is going to have to spend some money from his war chest in the primary election. Whether or not this guy wins, I don't know. That catfish festival he has out there in Warren County is pretty popular. But I look, man, when you actually look at what the 2nd Congressional District is, it's incredible. They take the entire Delta and then they just move into a bunch of conservative counties and just slice them off. Panola County, man almighty. It's just, there's some great conservative. I mean, they have a lot of conservative and Republican representatives up there too. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's time to take our first break of the day. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We will be right back. Hey, what's up? We're on a break.
Okay. I was wondering if you might have any idea why Donald Trump is determined that he's going to monitor AI in the states.
I have no idea on that.
Well, there's some talk about it, and it's on your channel. You know, like at the halftime when you do the news and whatnot.
Yeah, I know that's CBS, and they are so far left.
And they lie.
Yeah, but
They
what's really interesting, I've gotten 3 texts on that, and 3 texts, and now you've called in about it. I have
Well,
not.
I just what happened with me was when his big beautiful bill.
Mm-hmm.
That was in there.
Yep.
That was one of the things that was in there, and the people didn't want it, so they took it out. And then they tried something different and put it in there, and it didn't work. So the other day he says that, he needs to, for 10 years, he doesn't need anybody to, he can't have 50 different AI things. But, see, he's not going to be there forever.
Nope.
And it's going to be a mess when he leaves, just like it was a mess when he came in. And a lot of things that are happening are just things that are happening, but a lot of things that are happening were set up to happen. I believe. That's my opinion.
Let me ask you this.
Not WYAB or Mr. Gosser or anything. That's me.
Yeah, no. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick. Who was the better choice? Was it Kamala or Donald?
Oh, it was definitely Donald.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. At least he does, and I believe it's sincere, love America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he thinks he's going to do with the population, but because I'm not real sure exactly what his motives are anymore, because they changed so much.
Absolutely, that's a fair criticism.
Still, Kamala. If oh Lord, I'd probably be in jail or dead. I'd be in the gulag.
Yep. Ma'am, can I get your first name? I'm not going to use it on the air, but I just like to know who I'm talking to.
Ginger.
Miss Ginger, thank you so much, Miss Ginger, for the call. And I will kind of bring that up, but I was kind of going down a different direction today.
Donald Trump is always talking about the states need more power. We need school choice because they need to have the power, which is true. But when it comes to AI, he don't want. And also on top of that, they can put a antenna.
Yep. Hey, Miss Ginger,
anywhere.
I'm not trying to be short, but I got to get ready to come back. But thank you for the call.
I got you. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. She's awesome. Oh, yeah. We are back at the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB, Mississippi's 50,000 watt blowtorch. We're out there moving and grooving. This is some news coming from the New York Post, ladies and gentlemen, and it has implications for 2028. Yep. Marco Rubio rules out 2028 run if J.D. Vance seeks the Republican nomination. So what I think this is going to be a J.D. Marco type of situation. It's just what it looks like. Not saying it's going to be definitely that, but that's kind of looks like for me. Rubio is 54. He's a little bit older than me. J.D. is 41. If Secretary of State Marco Rubio did actually run for that, he would be, I think, be the first Gen Xer in that office. I'm almost positive. Was Kamala one? I don't think she was. I have to go and look. But he's come out and said that he's not going to do it. What Secretary of State Marco Rubio has ruled out of running for the president in 2028 if Vice President J.D. Vance seeks the office. And this is his quote: "If J.D. Vance runs, he's going to be our nominee, and I'll be one of the first people to support him," Rubio told author Chris Whipple in an interview published Tuesday in Vanity Fair. And we've all heard about the craziness that they did to the president's chief of staff over there, that hit piece, just incredible. And what was really amazing with that is, as soon as that came out, how everybody closed ranks around there. I truly understand wanting to reach out to the other side and get into other news streams that normally you wouldn't be in. So you kind of take that deal. But I think there should be like some type of way where not only can Vanity Fair run the article, but if there is major editing and craziness that's done, and look, we all know what CBS News did. We all know what ABC News did. We all know what CNN News did. And while MSNBC/MS Now/BS Always never got sued, they're basically going out of business because no one wants to buy that. That'd actually be a great business opportunity for some conservative mogul to buy that and just flip that station completely on its head. That would be a lot of fun. But this is good news. JD is lining himself up. He's putting, getting people behind him. And yep, I think it would be a great pick. We'll see what happens. But Marco Rubio, not going to be running for president if JD runs. That's some big news. What else we got going here? Oh. The NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. My good friend Paul would always rail against this. And back in like 2014, 2015, I have to be honest with you, I wasn't necessarily for it, but I wasn't against it either. But listen to this. As written, the NDAA gives the future Democratic president the opportunity to reintroduce woke indoctrination back into the military with the stroke of a pen. And all laws favoring DEI at our nation's most vital institutions could resurface on a whim, using typical diversity is our strength platitudes. The NDAA needs to go away. We really need Congress to start doing their job, break that thing apart, give the president power back to the presidency where he is the commander in chief, where Congress needs to come in and do stuff. That's where Congress needs to have that authority. And this is what happens when we do not have great oversight from the Congress. Trump wants the United States shipbuilding industry to be great again. Here's what it'll take and what's at stake. Long story short is that the United States really only builds military ships now. They have given up a majority of their commercial ship production to places like China and places like India. China accounts for much as 75% of new ship orders in construction and over half of the global shipbuilding market. Some people would say, well, that's because they don't have good labor laws. They don't have unions. Look, you can give all the excuses. It is what it is. Do you want to compete? And people go, yeah, their aircraft carriers aren't good yet. There are serious flaws, and you can go out there and read about it. I'm not going to promote the flaws that the new Chinese carrier has, but it has the ability to do some serious sortie generation. And it's going to be able to have definite power projection ashore and extend the range of the People's Liberation Air Force and Army. The administration's goal of a shipbuilding boom is part of Trump's Make America Great policy. He signed an executive order in April to bolster the shipbuilding industry. But here's the thing. China, which has roughly 232 times the shipbuilding capacity of the United States, dominates the global shipbuilding industry. We have 8 active shipyards in the United States. 8. sit down and strap in. China has over 300. This is coming from CNBC. Over 300 shipbuilding facilities in China. We have 8. And don't forget that that's also saying, that includes our submarines. And if you look at how far behind the United States Navy is in new ship construction and generation, it's terrible. There are so many. I know some of them. There's so many of them though that need to not just be allowed to retire, but they truly need to be fired for the complete malfeasance of what's going on there. Text coming in and chats coming in. I want to read this one from Brother Rick. He says, all commercial ships made in China are made to be converted to military ships very quickly. That is something that I did not know. I'm not doubting you, Rick. If you can send me a link, that would be awesome. But just thinking about that, what kind of ship warfare, naval warfare is it going to be? In World War II, it was the battleship. And then came the era of the carrier and the guided missile cruisers. What's coming next? Are carriers going to continue to do the power projection ashore? I mean, we talked yesterday about the new China drone ship. It can fly. It's like a MQ-1 Global Hawk, and it can fly all around the place. And all it does is drop out a bunch of drones that can autonomously go into very high threat environments. And if you lose them, you lose them. All it takes is one to get through, and now you've got a potential disaster on your hands. The Trump administration shipbuilding plan is an extension of an investigation into Chinese shipbuilding by the United States Trade Representative under the Biden and Trump administrations. This is not just President Trump going off. This is bipartisan. The 2025 order book for new vessels showed China accounts for 75% of the orders, with South Korea at 19% and the United States at a woeful 0.2 of 1%, according to data shared by SAND. I don't understand what SAND stands for, but that's what they say. The charts, the graphs here, and this will be right on my X in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 at Andrew Gosser on X. You can see the article that I'm pulling from. The charts are terrible. And what's really interesting is China's share. It shows China's share, but you can see the rest of the world is starting to kind of cut in the last year to China's growth and share, but it's still huge. And is it a spike or is it something real? And the other thing I want to put out there that you're going to hear, you are going to have people who maybe have served on an aircraft carrier or claim to have knowledge of shipbuilding techniques, tactics, procedures, whatnot, who really don't. I'm not going to sit here and say I can look at this ship and say it can be quickly converted into a tactical ship or a military vessel. Not going to claim that, but what I am going to say is that for me, I could see where they do something like the Ukraine did to Russia, where they have a bunch of these shipment containers, and they've got real goods. It's really shipping, but the tops just pop open and all of these things fly out. And the next thing you know, LA is in a mess. LA is in a mess. So that's what's going on with our shipbuilding. When we get back, we're going to have a story or two about Minnesota and Ilhan Omar and her accusing ICE of detaining her son. There's big controversy about that. We'll get into it right when we get back. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. Dr. Patricia Williams coming on. You are listening to 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. As I was talking about before we went to the break, ICE denies pulling over Ilhan Omar's son, accuses lawmaker of a PR stunt. We know that Ilhan, or not Elon, Ilhan, not Elon, but Ilhan Omar would pull a publicity stunt. She has that in her locker. This is what should scare the living hell out of everybody listening to this program right now. Minnesota has about 107,000 Somalis, according to the U.S. Census Bureau data, while critics cite a 1,150% increase in assaults and an 8,000% increase in the rise of death threats against ICE personnel over there in Minnesota. Unbelievable. Can't make this up. So let's go to Fox 9 up there in Minneapolis. Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar recently made claims that her son had been pulled over by ICE agents after making a trip to Target, going to the old Target, and was only released after being able to show a passport. However, the Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying that its agents had absolutely zero record of the stop having occurred, while criticizing Omar for demonizing ICE as part of a PR stunt. So we know that Ilhan Omar, she's got questions about her nationality. Did she really marry her brother to come into the United States? There are people who are genuinely saying that. It's being investigated now. I have not seen 100% definitive proof that they are brother and sister. We could figure that out real quick with a DNA test. 23andMe. What's that other one? Just make it happen. You know how she says, if you have nothing to prove, show the data. Well, here you go, Miss Omar. Show the data. All it takes is an independent person to go swab both of y'all right there, do it on camera, make it happen. There are lots of people who are claiming that this is going to cause more strife and conflict up there. And that's why we're having Dr. Patricia Williams on the radio show, because you sit here and look at these news reports, and even in conservative circles, there is the appearance that we are not talking about the things we need to talk about. I do not believe that the American people understand what we are getting into. The residents in Texas around Epic City certainly know what we're getting into. I believe that certain lawmakers here in Mississippi are not ostriches. They do not have their heads in the sand. They see what's going on, and I genuinely believe they want to do something about it. And we can. Mississippi can. We can make it happen. Have the roll call vote. We'll see what happens. But this whole thing with ICE, and then we also had this incident that happened in Louisiana. And people haven't really been talking about this. Former Marine, which is scary because all Marines are riflemen and they know how to shoot. Connected to Southern California terror arrest, was allegedly planning a solo attack in New Orleans. This is crazy. Do you remember we were talking about the Turtle Island Liberation Front? This guy is connected to that organization. So now we've got Turtle Island Liberation Front. And we shouldn't be laughing about it, but it's what they named it. It's actually perfect, makes perfect sense for the playbook against America. Name it something that seems innocuous and easily supportable, and then behind the scenes have it mean something else. Officials say his name is Micah James Legon, not sure. Former Marine and former police officer was arrested Saturday in New Iberia, Louisiana, which is 2-hour drive from New Orleans. Officials say Legion is suspected of associating with the Turtle Island Liberation Front. The group calls for the liberation through the decolonization of tribal sovereignty based on court documents. Federal authorities describe the group as a far-left, pro-Palestine, anti-government, and anti-capitalist group. He was arrested and charged with making threats over interstate commerce, according to documents. They apparently had this guy under surveillance and have said that he was observed putting body armor and an assault rifle into his vehicle, and that's when the troops went in to detain this guy. So we're starting to see all this, and I know my algorithm is tied to me, so I specifically have other browsers with other algorithms so that I can try to see, am I just having the black pill fed to me, or are these things really happening? But this is being reported by ABC News 7 right there in Baton Rouge. So it's just looking like there are more and more of these things starting to pop up. And the police and the FBI and the other law enforcement agencies, if they are not task saturated yet, it is becoming evident that they're going to become more and more busy. Let's see here. With respect to Mark Kelly, that's what we got to get into. Mark Kelly has once again come on the television and made statements saying that this elevated investigation, which we talked about yesterday, where he said he had not even heard of the investigation, and those of us who have either worked in law enforcement or worked with law enforcement, or when we conduct an investigation, you don't tell the person that you're actually investigating. You just go about and have your own business and do your own thing. But he is now calling the investigation, had to beat myself right there because I'm not going to say the word, but for dramatic effect, we hit the Deedle button. He called it BS, and it isn't Barbara Streisand. But it does go with BS now. And he's actually getting more combative. And I get it. As a politician, when you think you're being wronged, you want to go out there and just talk to the media and get your side of the story out there. But man, if you are a prosecutor actively looking into this, and he is just hanging himself out there, I mean, it's not looking good for Captain Mark Kelly. And he does make a valid point. He goes, if they can come after me, they can come after anybody. That's true. Have we ever had seditious senators and seditious congressmen elected into office before? That's probably something I should look up during the break. Has there ever been a congressman or congresswoman kicked out, or a senator kicked out for not following the Constitution, for having ideological views outside of the Constitution? Which is why on this show, oftentimes I do read quotes from our founding fathers that are very, very pointed, that Christianity and the Bible is what drove the Constitution of the United States of America. And I know I have a segment of about 10 to 12 people who just don't want to hear it, but it's true. All right, we're going to take our a quick break. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're moving and grooving. If you hop over to my ex, Brother Rick, he's on top of stuff. Two sources that talk about how it into civilian ships can be quickly converted into military vessels. Uh, you know, people would might say that's crazy. That's not a real thing. I'm looking at it right now, and my goodness gracious, they just they do have that capability. As we get ready to go over and talk to Dr. Patricia Williamson in the next hour, my daughter is taking her last exam of the semester today. Do you know what it happens to be? U.S. history. How about that? Absolutely love it. And so I just figured I would go to ushistory.org and find the history of the Minutemen. The Minutemen played a crucial role not only in the Revolutionary War, but in earlier conflicts. Although the terms militia and Minutemen are sometimes interchangeable today, in the 18th century, there was a decided difference between the two. The militia were men of arms formed to protect their towns from foreign invasion and the ravages of war. Minutemen were small, hand-picked elite forces which were required to be highly mobile and able to assemble quickly. Minutemen were selected from militia muster rolls by their commanding officers, typically 25 years of age or younger, and they were chosen for their enthusiasm, reliability, and physical strength. Usually about 1/4 of the militia served as Minutemen, performing additional duties as such. Minutemen were the first armed militia to arrive and await for battle. That's good history to know. And this is written by Andrew Ronemus. I'll put that on X2 during the break, but he is a U.S. history teacher and teaches in, I believe, South Carolina. So I think it's important, and maybe we have like a weekly segment on U.S. history of things that the schools won't want to teach our kids, but they should probably know. Definitely something worth having there. You think about it, the Minutemen were almost like the special forces of today. They're just ready to go and defend. And my goodness, we're at a point in our history today where it's not too far to say that we might need something like that in the future. And people talk about the different militias and stuff like that. It's not a bad word. It is not a crazy thing to think. Although if you talk about it today and you talk to what the people are saying, my goodness, you would think it's a bad word. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Hello?
Hey, give me just 1 second.
Hey. Sure. Do you hear me okay?
Yeah. You want to know what's crazy? My stream just completely crashed.
Oh, no.
No one on. Wow, this is crazy. I've been talking about you and talking it all up. We'll still I'll still be able to put it out, but I just want to see if it crashed my stream. I want to see if YouTube crashed it. It says it says it's live.
Oh, no.
No one on. Yep. All right. Well, I'm sitting here looking at it. We're gonna see what happens here. Maybe Restream killed it. I don't know. Hey, so I was figuring I'm gonna call you Dr. Patricia Williamson, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Yep. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and we're gonna talk about your role up in Carver County and the great things you're doing, and then we will go ahead and talk about your governor and your crazy senator, and then we'll go and talk about the Somali problem.
Sure. And just so you know, ICE has been raiding my community.
Oh, well,
all over me. So Chaska and Chanhassen.
We'll definitely talk about that too. And
Oh yeah.
it it appears as though both Rumble and YouTube are working, although Restream is saying people aren't listening, which is great.
Oh weird.
I just had like 350 people listening, and now I'm down to one. Rumble is mysteriously back.
Okay.
Wow, I'm telling you, you know, I don't want to be one of these conspiracy theorists, Patricia. I'm going to be saying Patricia a lot because I this is
Yeah.
what we got to do. But I see something like this happen, and my gosh, my gosh. So
Yeah. I get it.
have you ever heard the intro at the top of the hour to my show? So you know kind of like how it's going to go, and I'll bring you in.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, but yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's smooth, and I'm
Yeah.
doing the right. It, wow, holy smokes! I've never had that happen. I'm genuinely befuddled. Well, I'm glad that our station records it too, so we're good to go
Yeah.
there. So, is there anything specific you would like to talk about?
Yeah. Self-involvement.
Get what kind of involvement?
Getting oneself involved, because
Oh,
too often I see these leftists organized, but they've got an organization behind them with money
mhm,
that's set up the infrastructure to connect, and they help drive the input. But we can drive things ourselves, and we have forgotten
mhm.
the power of our person.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I'm writing that down because I want to make sure that I give you everything that you need to go ahead and do that there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've reshared this myself on your Facebook feed on mine,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so I
cool.
hope that helps.
Well, I am seeing absolutely nothing on Facebook. It's incredible, and now people are calling in saying, "I lost the feed. I lost the feed." Yeah, I'm gonna put you on hold for just a sec. Hey, go ahead. Hello.
Hello?
Yep, we're in a break, and we're about to go to our guest.
Hello? Hello?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep. I was
There we
trying.
go.
Yeah, I was trying to talk to that person, and God bless her, but we just got to roll down our stream. My goodness, my goodness.
Oh yeah, here it's got it on Rumble. I see it.
I wonder if people are. I wonder if. My goodness. All right. Well, I'm going to put you on hold. You're going to hear quietness, but things are going on in the background, and I'll give you the entire intro. You'll hear it. All right.
Okay.
You're awesome. Can't wait to talk.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Wednesday, the 17th of December, 2025, and we are streaming on Rumble, and we are streaming on X, and we are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the signal, you can always go there and listen in, and we appreciate that. Follow me on Twitter. It's really easy. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. We're not going to be taking any calls this hour. We're going to have a special guest, but the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. And today, Proverbs tells us when the righteous triumph, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, people hide themselves. And I think this is a great segue to bring in our guest, Dr. Patricia Williamson, Carver County, Minnesota GOP chairwoman. Doctor, are you there?
I am here, Andrew. Hello.
Hey, it's great to talk to you. It's great to talk to you. And we are so grateful to have you here. You know, I don't think there are two more diametrically opposite states between Mississippi and Minnesota. And you being up there and me being down here, I thought it would be great to get your perspective on what you're seeing on the ground. So if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with the GOP up there.
Sure. So thank you, Andrew, for having me on. I hope my weather hasn't ended up in your backyard anytime recently. We have snow on the ground, but it's going to be nice and warm. So if you want to turn your fans north and shoot some air up this way, I wouldn't mind it.
I hear you.
You know, I'm just a working person. I have a full-time job, a couple of kids. One's in high school, and you know, I was watching my school district fall further and further astray. I was watching my backyard going crazy. I was watching the property taxes climb and climb here, and I saw a downward spiral of our entire state here. I haven't lived here my whole life. I grew up in Missouri, moved around Illinois a little bit for work, and then I ended up here 9 years ago in Minnesota, and everything started just really going awry a few years ago, especially when we ended up with a Democrat trifecta, meaning they had the House, the Senate, and the governorship up here. And you all got to see a little bit of our crazy, because Governor Walz decided to run for VP with Kamala Harris in 24. I gotta tell you, I think he was just the last one that they could pick from, because anybody else that would have ruined their careers politically if they had run with her. This nincompoop up here, who calls himself a knucklehead on a daily basis, he definitely was someone that thought it was so fantastic that he got asked to that national spotlight, but it kind of finally helped us, because the news media in Minnesota just doesn't cover what this guy does. And no matter how much I try from my position within the party to keep the word out in our Minnesota GOP, we have a couple of more minor but significant news organizations, one called Alpha News, that tries to get out some of the information. But conservative media is a shortfall in Minnesota. They've managed to commandeer the state in a way that does not represent the populace by a stretch. But it's a combination of things that's got us here.
So tell us about the stuff that you're doing specifically in Carver County.
Well, in Carver County, I'm trying to help encourage people to have what I call an educated and engaged electorate, meaning you need to get out and vote. You need to participate in voting. In other words, you need to be an election judge. You can't just go vote. You've got to have some participation. But then also some of the things that we're doing actively is trying to make sure we develop candidates really well, make sure we re-educate the population as to the value of their own personal voice. Making public comments is important. Watching your city council meetings. Hardly anybody goes to these city council meetings. Do you know what your city's doing? Do you know what projects they're taking on? Do you know how much they're spending on your money, your tax dollars? You are handing over to them. Are they spending it wisely? Just having public oversight and people keeping an eye on things makes those public officials twice before they just willy-nilly rubber stamp stuff. So making sure that people understand that their voice has a value up and down the ballot and in and out between races. You've got to support candidates. You need to support and be engaged with the party. If you don't like what your local party's doing, probably because you're not in there giving your opinion and helping to guide the course, you know? So
Absolutely.
more hands the better.
And it sounds to me that the approach that you're taking up there, while you do have a national interest like we all do, you're really locked in specifically on Carver County and doing it's almost like a slog, you know. It's where it's like it's not always the most glamorous job to be an election judge or, you know, to go to a city council meeting or a school board meeting, but it really is important.
It is so important because a lot of times the reason it's like we took our hands off the wheel, and honestly, Jesus isn't there steering for us a lot of times. You know, you can hope that things go correctly, but if you're not running for office and getting yourself in the mix somehow, your perspective and voice is lost in that. And in that absence, we've got a lot of special interests that are coming in. Let me give you an example. You know what ranked choice voting is?
Absolutely. We outlawed it here in Mississippi.
Well, I'm glad you did. In Minnesota, there are several municipalities, major cities, that allow for ranked choice voting. One is just to my direct north called Minnetonka. And the community has been trying to put it on the ballot and you know, reverse it. But their city council got kind of bamboozled into adopting this because there are special groups that are paid actors that come up and say, hey, this would be great for your community. Here's all the benefits. They sell it, put a bow on top, make it smell like roses. And then it gets passed by the city council because they go, well, that sounded good. That's a way to modernize how we do things. Well, sure. Without even asking their constituents. And then now the people in that community have to live with it. And they have a hard time with their elections as a result. But the reality is, if you go around and survey that community, not a single voter was asking for it. Not a single voter even knew what it was when they first got started with it. They didn't understand the implications. So what are our elected officials doing if it's something that their constituents aren't asking for? So try to help that.
I was going to ask, how has your recruiting been since you've become the chairwoman? How have you has the party progressed in your county?
Oh gosh, it's hard to even describe how things were. I was elected to the chairman spot in 23. Most of the past chairs just were lucky if they made it through their particular 2-year terms. I got reelected this year in 2025. So I'm 3 years in, just about. This is your fault because you told me I had to do this. But you're one of many I have to blame. But it's been good. We've increased engagement. My executive committee is more engaged than ever. We have a fairly strong board, and it's 18 plus me, so 19 total people on the executive committee. And then we have a larger committee, which includes all of our precinct officers. And some of them are less active than others, and some of them are really active. So we're doing better every year. It's going to take some time to get people to realize what it takes to be self-governed and be citizens in a republic, that it's a vigilance that we must maintain, like weight management. You know, you have to be out walking it all the time, talking to your neighbors, sharing information, because we do have a lot of interest. And then I work very closely with various other county party units. The chairs around me, we kind of made a little informal collaborative down here in the Southwest Metro out of the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep an eye on each other. We help with ideas and stuff. I offer Citizens Academy monthly. These things have grown from just a few people showing up to dozens and then hundreds, you know, in some cases when we have larger, more spectacular events. We've had Scott Pressler come in
Awesome.
last year in September, which was really nice to talk about the importance of voter registration. In Minnesota, we've had a lot of Republicans just kind of give up. There's 600,000 adults here that are qualified to vote. They're adults, they're U.S. citizens, and aren't even registered in this state. So it kind of calls the question, well, geez, why aren't you voting? Do you like what you see? The answer is no. Well, then why aren't you at least voting? There's so much more you can do beyond that. But at a minimum, you need to register, you need to vote, you need to go tell your city councilman off once in a while. Those sorts of things. I mean, it's, but I do believe people are starting to get the drumbeat. The more I pound that, they're getting it. And, we're up against a lot. We have an organized group of Democrats here that are funded externally. A lot of the Democrat candidates get a lot of external funding coming in from like George Soros. And then if you haven't caught on yet, I'm sure you've heard of something called Feeding Our Future and the scandal that caused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more just like it. It's almost a template blueprint. And what they failed to mention on some of the national media is that in October of 22, when this first broke with the first series of indictments, I went and looked up all of those criminals because I didn't have a lot better to do at my time, apparently. Looked them up, found their names, and then I went into our campaign finance, which is online, and I looked up those individuals and found out who they've been donating to. So they were kicking money back at these politicians. Well, since that was outed at that time, several of them, including the guy that ran but lost for Minneapolis mayor just recently, Omar Fatia, he was one of the larger recipients. Keith Ellison, our attorney general, he had to return some money. Ilhan Omar, our congresswoman in Minneapolis, she returned some money. She actually donated it to a charity locally. I don't know if that meant it went over to some terrorist organization overseas or if it really stayed here to help with anybody.
El Shahab.
Yeah, El Shahab. Yeah, so there's all that going on. But they're kicking back the money out of these social programs, and I dare say it's going up and down the fence. And then they funnel it back and forth between candidates, their statewide party. So it gets really difficult to know who's using or leveraging those dollars. But it's definitely flowing in from the people who are benefiting from the scams that they've set up.
And I think this is a great place to take our first break. When we get back, I want to get more into that. And I also want to talk about the Somali ICE interactions that you're having over there. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. All right, we're at commercial break. So I thought that was really great. And our people who are listening to the stream, they're listening to us talk. So I really want to get into the Somali population that you're having to deal with, the ICE stuff, how that's affecting your resources, whether it be healthcare, school, legal. There's other things that it impacts.
Well, the impact is our taxes, ultimately, Andrew. They're still providing the services they claim to be providing, but they need more and more money, lots of it. And everything's maxed the hell out.
Yeah, I cannot imagine living up there and having to deal with that community. I mean, I've seen some of the videos on X, and I want to save this for when we come out of break, but I've just seen some of the stuff. It's just madness up there,
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It is.
I'm going to put you on hold real quick for the commercial, and then I'll bring you right back.
Sure. No problem.
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show. I am joined by Dr. Patricia Williamson, Carver County GOP Chairwoman up in Minnesota. Miss Patricia, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get into the predicament that your area is in, which is the Somali infiltration into your neighborhood, and some of the things that that it's having impact on, whether that be schools, taxes, whatever. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, as far as the impact, like the outcome, I think one of the things to really think about is how we're getting so overburdened in taxes here. Every time you turn around, Minnesota's leveraging a fee. They've increased car tabs, fishing licenses, anything that they can get a price for, anything that they can possibly charge you for, they're going to charge you extra. Why? Because so much of it was being funneled out in all these fraudulent activities and to pay off this community. What's really interesting about the Somali community, they stay pretty close-knit and they actually participate very actively in their areas where they live. Whereas an average American citizen is too busy with their day-to-day lives to, oh my gosh, take out time and go to what we have we have a caucus system here. So you can come up, go to caucus on February 3rd, become a delegate to the party, which represents 60 Republican voters in your area, in your precinct. And then that goes up exponentially in proportion to the state level where we endorse candidates who throw our support from the party perspective behind them. Somalis are turning out. They turn out to vote. They turn out to caucus. They become a very active part, even though they're, in a proportion, much smaller proportion of the overall population. They've gotten themselves very well integrated into the system that we basically have just kind of walked off the field and let it sit idle on our own. And they're taking over that to make sure that they are in places of power and places that they can take advantage of. And then the end result ultimately becomes increasing tax burden to the base voters. And the citizens in the state are just really taking it. I live in the highest property tax county in the entire state of Minnesota. Oof. And it's in the top, like, I want to say it was in the top, I don't know, 25 in the nation or something like that I read recently. So these things don't happen in a vacuum. It's not like they're just taking somebody else's money. They're actually taking your money from Mississippi, by the way. I'm sorry.
They are. That I've tried to.
Because it's federal dollars in many cases, which is part of the reason a lot of this is getting prosecuted. It's because the USDA funds that were involved in feeding our future. There's education funds. Linda McMahon just announced finding a bunch of education fraud here in Minnesota, what they call ghost students. So they'll set up things like autism centers. There's another one up here. They set up a home care clinic. They set up their residents as a kind of like a pseudo nursing home by the way it's described. And then they do fake billing out of their house for people that they're not caring for, or kids they're not feeding, or they get people convinced to just take an autism diagnosis and they'll kick them back $400 a month while they do all this billing to Medicare and Medicaid. And, these are federal tax dollars. So it impacts the entire country when this stuff's left to run amok.
We've talked about that on the radio show where we've said, Mississippi is not a donor state. We are a receiving state. We get more money than we give. And I think the last number I heard was $8 billion was just into Minnesota in this Feed Our Children tax fraud scheme. And if we do not, the reason I wanted to have you on is if we do not learn from what is happening in Minnesota, Mississippi will be next. And the thing about it is, we've had ice down here a little bit, and more in Louisiana than Mississippi. We're kind of quiet about it. I know that they're the quiet professionals. They're just going out and doing their job. It's not getting the same type of publicity that perhaps that would get in like the Twin Cities or in Chicago or New Orleans. What can you tell us about what's happening with ICE in your area right now?
It's interesting you bring it up. Just this last few weeks, I know that ICE has been in the metro area here in Minnesota. Specifically on Saturday, they were in a community next door here called Chanhassen. They had isolated 2 guys that they were trying to pick up. They had gotten themselves up into some construction site and were sitting on a roof. The media reported that these guys were just construction workers trying to do their job and out in the cold, yeah. And it was pretty cold on Saturday here.
Mhm.
We can get below 0. And I just got looking around and I'm like, what the heck? I saw this morning someone reporting that those guys were not construction workers. They weren't just here trying to provide for their families. They had legitimate warrants. They were legitimate criminals. And yet the very misled liberal-leaning members of the public that went out and tried to protest and, blockade ICE and prevent them from doing their job. They were giving food and blankets and support to these people that were trapped on the roof, trying to help them evade. One guy finally come down. He was hypothermic, got taken to the hospital. And the other guy, he got away, I think, at some point. But after they just decided, well, we'll come and get you another day. So all this has resulted in a little bit of kerfuffle at the city council meeting on Monday night, and then yesterday morning there was a lot of discussion about ICE cooperation, as our sheriff is considering signing an agreement with Homeland Security and ICE to detain some of these people that they're picking up and put them in our county jail. And of course, the Democrats brought everybody they could from the area out to stand in our county commissioner meeting on Monday morning to protest the whole thing and make public comment. The reality is the people that were commenting, half of them weren't even from our county. They were coming in from the cities.
Yep.
And then, and so they're trying to put up this show while all of us are at work. Good Republicans in their state actually are having to work to pay the tax liabilities that keep getting scammed off of us. And at the end of the whole thing, we're having to rally people to make sure that they send an email to the sheriff, send an email to the county commissioners, tell them what you think about them doing this. They need to do their duty, and they need to be able to provide a jail facility. If they are picked up incorrectly, I would rather them be processed and here close to, if they've got family or friends, and not shipped off to Texas or something.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, it's compassionate for the people that are having to go through being apprehended by ICE. But at the end of the day, they are up here looking for people that are hardened criminals that have absolutely a need to be picked up out of our community. We've seen what some of these folks have been doing lately. And Hennepin County, which is where Minneapolis sits,
Mm-hmm.
is one of the biggest revolving doors in crime because they prefer to be very, very lenient to the criminals, never mind the victims that's being left in the wake. You never hear them talk about that.
It's absolutely incredible. If you go on X and you start searching for Somalis in actually, you know what? I've got this saved. I want you to listen to this. This is actually from Minneapolis.
Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Sharia law. I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law. Sharia law, yes.
You prefer Sharia law over American law?
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah.
And do you find most of your friends feel the same way?
Yeah, of course. If you're Muslim, yeah.
He can make his daughter marry somebody.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. He has the authority,
The authority to do that.
Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
So here, how young do you think it's okay?
Yeah, 15.
Is it right to kill somebody who insults Muhammad?
Yeah, because she is just, she had the religion, I understand. But she shouldn't pick up the prophet,
So you understand why people would want to attack her?
Yeah.
If you had a choice, would you rather live here or would you rather live in the Muslim country?
I'd rather live in a Muslim country with my people.
Would you prefer to live in America or prefer to live in Somalia?
For me, I think it's Somalia.
I would rather live in Somalia.
I'm not Americanized. I just speak fluent, and I'm articulate, and I can articulate what I'm trying to say. That's about it. But other than that, as far as my culture and my preferences and everything, it's still Somali. You know what I mean?
Even though here you have all the freedom and stuff like that.
And even though I have all the freedom,
I think life might be better in Somalia than here.
because you have the freedom of it of practicing your religion
Right.
while working and doing your other things.
What do you think about that?
Not surprising.
When
Um,
when you have
Over in St. Paul,
yep,
we know that there are areas where like a mosque has been set up, and then they start eventually taking over the block. They kind of bully out businesses. There's been bars that have been there for 75 years that have closed because it's just not kosher to have alcohol in that area, and so they get rid of it by pressuring and a lot of it's kind of almost buggery in a way. But I mean, it's not to say that all of these folks are bad. Maybe they do want to have a different lifestyle, but it's got to be hard to interview them and get any truth because they know what line they have to toe, and their leaders are expecting them to follow their religious established parameters. But it's a shame that they don't feel that they're able to live under or preferred under the U.S. But I think it's something that we all need to look out for. We all need to think, the reason you've come to the United States is, and when you're naturalized, you pledge to support the laws of this country. That's the reason you're granted asylum or freedom, but it's not to be taking advantage of the place that you've now relocated to. From what I understand, Somalia is a pretty rough place to live.
it is an incredibly difficult place to live. And when you have people like this who are living in America, taking advantage of the benefits that we give to people who are seeking asylum, and then mocking America like these people were, I think, you know what, they should get a first class ticket. Well, not even a first class, economy class ticket straight back to Somalia. We'll just fly them out over there, and they can have their wish. Doc, I got to take our next commercial break. We will be right back. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. All right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, I guess the most important thing is just obviously being involved. That too much was sat complacent. I just can't believe how bad it's gotten here. Everybody thought the world was working a certain way, and we left it on autopilot, and we looked away, and we looked back, and holy cow, it wasn't on autopilot. Somebody else took control of the ship that was steering in a different direction. So it's not what we thought it was.
Yep. That would be awesome to say. Definitely bring that up in the next segment, and I'll give you the last couple words, and then we'll just sign off. And then once I get off the air, I'll give you a buzz.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I'm going to put you on hold and make sure that I get the commercial break right. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are with Dr. Patricia Williamson. She's the chairwoman of the Carver County GOP up in Minnesota. We talked about the impact of illegal immigration in their neighborhood and in their county, and some of the things that have been incorporated, like ranked choice voting. Thank God we got rid of that here in Mississippi. But these are things that are happening up there. And one of the things we were talking about in the break, Dr. Williamson, was about how we thought we were going down a path, but we were kind of asleep at the wheel. Can you go into that analogy a little bit more?
Well, yeah, we all kind of thought everything was going the way we believed it should, and that things were settled. We're at peace with where we are in the world, and then a lot of people also took it as, it doesn't matter who I vote for. The government's pretty stable. Everything's going to stay the way it is. Actually, then we're all waking up and going, whoa, wait a minute. We're not on the course we thought we were on. And it's like falling asleep on a trip and somebody else is driving all of a sudden. You're going, wait, where are we going? They changed the destination. Scenery's not the same. And you're wondering, how did we get here? Well, you fall asleep on the trip. We got to always be engaged. We should be taking our turns just as our forefathers envisioned that we would, whether it's on your school board or your city council or a county commissioner spot. You need to keep awareness of them. And even like these departments, a lot of people have access to being on city council, community volunteer boards, so that you can keep a better idea and a better understanding about how things are going and what is going on. Apparently, just 3 hours ago, they announced that the federal education secretary, Linda McMahon, she said starting earlier this year, their department learned that there was a lot of fraudulent college applications, especially concentrated here in Minnesota, gaming the federal post-secondary. Again, it's federal money. I mean, I'm sorry, Mississippi. I'm sorry, Missouri. I'm sorry, Minnesota. We've all contributed into financing these post-secondary education loans and grants that were intended for young Americans before college, but they're being sniped up by fraudsters.
That is infuriating. You know, we got people who go to college, get the good grades so they can go to get their master's or their PhD, doctor, whatever, and it's actually getting pushed aside, and people are getting it who have really no intentions of getting those PhDs for that money. They're just funneling it over back to Somalia. And it's interesting that, you know, it's just not the Department of Education, but it's the Department of Health. And all these different organizations are realizing that they were getting fleeced by this community, specifically in Minnesota. I'll give you the last word with anything that you want to.
Same thing's happening elsewhere, though. There's a big problem with this in Michigan. There's an extra big problem actually in Michigan. So look up Dearborn.
Yep.
Maine. Mainers are getting kind of tired of their Somali community that they've got a chunk of people there that are doing similar things. But like with the Department of Education, I want to take everybody, remember how Biden was trying to forgive student loans? How many of these fraudulent student loans was he forgiving?
Wow.
Not only did the money get taken fraudulently, but he was trying to forgive these kinds of loans so that those people didn't have to worry about paying them back. As much as you think you're helping your neighbor or a friend or someone down on their luck, whatever it might be, the better way to do that is for you to directly go stick some money into your church, into a local nonprofit organization, or better yet, open up your own doors and feed some hungry people. Or go down to we have a community free pantry, they call it, intended to help some people in the community that have hit hard times. Maybe they don't qualify for some extra assistance, but people stick their extra groceries down there for people to take. And it's just fine, because that's right across the community, and people are donating for the causes that they need to support. Too much of this has been taken advantage of. And as citizens, we must be vigilant. We've got to stay involved, got to stay engaged. Not everybody likes it. Last thing you want to do is take time out for some meetings once a month. But heck, an hour out of every citizen a month would take care of this problem. would probably have provided enough oversight and interaction and put more people into the right offices, then we wouldn't have this situation. I can't even believe Walls got reelected, much less has declared he's going to run again. Same thing with Keith Ellison and our Secretary of State. This morning, the topic on our local radio station was Ilhan Omar's citizenship. The woman is not a U.S. citizen. There's been people up here pounding this drum for almost a decade, it sounds like. For as long as I've been up here, I've heard about this situation where she changed her own birth certificate, documentation about what year she was born. Our Secretary of State, I don't know about yours, but they don't check. When you file for office, they check on nothing. They do not verify you're a citizen. They do not verify you're a voter. They don't verify your location. They don't double check and say, oh yeah, that residence you claim is yours. We have that on record as your last place that you filed for taxes or whatever. We've had people run for office here on the Democrat side that didn't even live in the district that they were looking to represent. They had a phony apartment. But the Secretary of State never validates or verifies any of it.
Wow.
That needs to change.
Dr. Patricia Williamson, ladies and gentlemen, Carver County GOP Chairwoman, doing a great job up there. Keep up the good fight. Any last words?
Everybody's got to get involved. You just can't saying that you're a good Republican and you vote. You make sure you vote for Republicans is not enough. Go out and support a candidate. Be a candidate. Be aware. Be engaged. Get in the mix somewhere. Just do at least pick one thing and do that one thing well. Life would be better.
Patricia, I really appreciate you giving me almost an hour of your time. I know how valuable your time is, and we'll be in touch soon. All right.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Hey, thank you, everybody. That was Dr. Patricia Williamson, Carver County GOP Chairwoman up there on the front lines, having a full-blown migration invasion up there with the Somali community. And this isn't hating. This is just the facts. Ilhan Omar is up there, and, they're just now figuring out that she is not a U.S. citizen. My goodness gracious. And the reason I think that's so important is because here's someone who's actually experienced it. We're very blessed in Mississippi right now. We don't have the same types of problems that are up there, but I wanted to spend this time. I know your time is valuable. I appreciate all of you. But when you actually start hearing from people up there where they're losing education dollars, where they're losing healthcare dollars, where they're switching from the traditional one person, one vote to this ranked choice voting thing, it's absolutely destroying the American culture and the American way of life. They do not appreciate the same things we do. I mean, you had that one kid that played in that video. He was born in the United States and absolutely hates the country he lives in. What other country in the world tolerates that kind of behavior? I look at this and I just shake my head, and I do not want it to happen here. And there are a lot of people who agree with me, but there is a statistical portion of people who think, hey, Mississippi's going to be fine. We just got to keep on going the way we're going. That simply cannot happen. And anything that we can do here on this show to promote that idea, to encourage all of you to get out to either run for office, be a precinct delegate, just, you don't even have to run. Just know your neighbors, know the people on your block. Because it all started really locally there. It started and we didn't get a chance to talk about this. I should have asked her, darn it. But we kind of skirted the edges of it. They all started in these really small local offices, and it just grew and grew and grew. She talked about the mosque, how they planted the mosque, and it just slowly became an epicenter. You can look at this. You can see this. And we have to pay attention to it. We have to do something about it. Otherwise, Mississippi will just go the way of Minnesota and Michigan. And we don't want that. We're proud of our history and our heritage. It's not perfect. We know that there are things in the past that we got to work through, and we have. But we're proud to be Americans, and we're proud to be from Mississippi or live here now, in my case. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. ladies and gentlemen, I'm so grateful and thankful for our guest. I hope you all got something out of it. And I just don't want that to happen here. I've seen what it's done to my community back in Illinois. I see what it's doing in Minnesota and Michigan. Don't want it to happen in Mississippi. I do have to talk about this. This is just breaking, and literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of y'all have already texted in asking about the Republicans who have now joined with the Democrats in the United States House of Representatives to force a vote on Obamacare. And this is coming from Fox News. The 4 Republicans who joined with the Democrats to force a vote on Obamacare: Mike Lawler of New York, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Rob Shanahan Jr. of Pennsylvania, and Ryan McKenzie of Pennsylvania. So 3 people from Pennsylvania and 1 from New York. And that's why it's so critical. That's why it's so important that we do something about Mississippi too. We have a chance to get rid of Benny Thompson. We have a chance to put in a conservative Republican who we're not going to have to worry about such things. And the thing about it is, and this actually ties into everything that we were talking about this hour, but building the bench locally, we've got to do it. And I am grateful because you might not see it with the Mississippi GOP yet, but they are bringing on a lot of Zoomers, a lot of these young kids who are fiercely conservative, and they're being put in positions of leadership. And they're given duties and responsibilities. And we might not like the general thrust of it, but people are getting put into place to be able to go ahead and do bigger things. And there is absolutely no reason that we can't do bigger things locally. So even if you don't like what the state is doing, get involved locally. Can't stress it enough. And I've known Dr. Williamson for a long time. She's a great egg, and we're grateful and thankful for her. You know, we always sit here on this show and talk about the different opportunities that we have. And we've got a big opportunity coming up with this Republican race for the 2nd Congressional District. And if you haven't yet, you need to go out and start thinking about what is your plan of attack going to be for that. Are you just going to vote? Are you going to volunteer to be election judge? The party needs help with this. I think we have a real opportunity to do something great. Obviously, if the Voter Rights Act gets overturned in Louisiana, like many are suspecting, what will the GOP in Mississippi do? I think it really falls on our Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann and the Mississippi State Senate. They're going to be the ones who have control over that process. But can we have enough of a voice to say, hey, let's get this back? We don't want to end up being like Indiana. They may change it in a few years, but we don't want to be that way. If we get the chance to do it, we should definitely do it. You have been listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. We'll see you in about 22 hours. Be blessed, everybody.